Good Sunday morning, my friends. As you can see, I am here with a Stitch With Me video. And it's not just any Stitch With Me video, it is the celebrated high tea. It is Sunday, August 28th. No, it's not. It's Sunday, October 28th. I went back in time for a brief moment. It's Sunday, October 28th, and this is the day that we celebrate high tea. So I am celebrating with White Willow cat, the White Willow tribal cat, rather. And I'm celebrating in a little bit of a different way. It's not only a new start on a pattern that I had, but what I'm really celebrating is this Cover Your Ears, Gerald, this delicious de Haviland thread that was sent to me by the lovely Michelle from Jacko's Crafty Corner. And I thought about this thread because I just watched Teresa Little Stitcher, who showed these threads in her video, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have those too, but in a different colorway. I explained this in my next video. I've already started vlogging for it, but I explained in my next video that I actually won these in a contest because I named the colorway African Violet. And you can see with the beautiful sage colors and the purples why I named it African Violet. She did choose that name, and my prize was being sent 3 of these skeins, which are equivalent to 200 meters of floss, or about 218 yards of floss. So I wanted to make sure that I chose a pattern that would accommodate the amount of floss that I have, because I only have 3 skeins of this. Now, as you can see, it's very, to use Teresa's word, it's very glossy, almost like an Edmar rayon. So I am using this with a thread conditioner, and I don't know how I'm going to like it, to be honest with you. It's absolutely lovely to touch, absolutely beautiful to look at, but I honestly don't know how I am going to enjoy stitching with it. So we're going to go into this together. So let me just do some super quick math right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay. So I am stitching the Tribal Cat by White Willow Stitching, and I am stitching this on 32 count Wexford linen in Tranquility from Silk Weavers. Now this is my very first time stitching on Wexford linen. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Emily is a big fan of Wexford, and I am quite certain I see what the appeal is. I don't know if you can see this quite closely, but it looks like an even weave. So if any of you fabric experts out there can help explain this to me, this Wexford linen to me does not look like linen. It looks like an even weave. And I like that because I love even weave. I like linen. I don't dislike linen, but I prefer even weave. I prefer stitching on even weave, and I like the look of linen. And to me, or should I say the feel of, I don't know. This to me seems like a blend between linen and even weave. But if I didn't know what the name of this was, I would most certainly bet it was just plain old even weave. It doesn't look like typical linen to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, that's all to say I'm enjoying it with the 11 stitches that I've put in on it. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm sorry, one moment, I have to count. Okay. So this is how far we've gotten. I wanted to get a couple of stitches in before I got on camera because, like I said, this floss It's a little bit temperamental. You kind of have to, I mean, it's not difficult once I'm starting to stitch with it. It's perfectly fine. I do recommend, because I don't know for certain if it's a rayon or not, but it most certainly feels and looks like one. But it's not annoying. Like some people do not like stitching with rayon or satiny type flosses, but this is just too beautiful not to use, which of course is why I am celebrating this on this high tea Sunday. So what I did do was use some thread conditioner on it. I used Thread Heaven, but some people may prefer to use, I don't know if I would use beeswax on this, because I'm concerned that it would dull the sheen, which to me is one of the most beautiful things about this floss, is the sheen. But I have read that with certain flosses, some people use a damp sponge just to moisten the floss, but I don't know what happens once it dries. Does it fray a little bit? I honestly don't know. So I went with what I knew, which is Thread Heaven, that's what I'm comfortable with. Now the other thing about this floss is you have to use a large eye needle, because you will most certainly fray your floss if you use a needle that the hole is too small. So I'm using a size 24 needle, which is what's recommended. So far I'm not having any problems whatsoever. I am trying to keep the edge of the floss, the end of the floss rather, somewhat close to the eye of the needle, because I don't want it to get caught or snag. I'm not saying that it will, I'm just nervous that it will. So we'll see how we do with this. My window's open, so you may hear my neighbors. I don't know what they're out there doing, but somebody's out there doing something. So I'm thinking about how I want to work on this, because I'm working on this today, and I'm not sure how long I'm going to work with it. It might only be for the Stitch With Me video. But as you know, I'm working on getting through to peacocks, getting finished with peacocks and posies, and of course I want to focus on that. So I'm thinking that I may introduce the Friday night stitch-in project every week, where I work on this every Friday. I don't know, that was a bit of a fail with my Prairie Schooler alphabet, wasn't it? I got through some of the letter B, I think. Some of it, because B was for blackbird, and I don't even know if I stitched a blackbird. But I'm thinking this would be a good project to stitch on Friday nights rather, because the way that it's designed, I can work on one little motif at a time, because there's several little shapes within the pattern that make up the shape of the cat. So, like, without showing you much of anything, I'm really not showing you anything here. If I'm able to show it to you, like this right here is one shape. Of course they're working on a car outside. I hope it's not too loud. This right here is one shape. It's like the shape of a dog bone. So I would work on that one shape, and then maybe I would go to this square, that kind of thing. So I think that's how I'm going to approach it, and just work on it a little bit at a time, because I don't know, that's just the idea that popped into my head. So yesterday, excuse me while I count. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so yesterday I watched quite a bit of FlossTube. I watched a lot of Ginger Gerald Stitcher. As I mentioned a little earlier, I was watching Teresa Little Stitcher, and she mentioned this floss. She also mentioned Gerald's series Confessions of a Floss Tuber. And because I haven't been watching FlossTube that much over the past few months, I wasn't familiar, and apparently I've missed quite a bit. And I very well maybe, well, I won't say the only one, but one of very few people that didn't know about this series that he did, which is absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Like, I watched one episode after the other. I really loved how he did that. It's such a great idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I may or may not have done a little selfless plug in one of my vlogs, inviting myself to do one with Gerald. That may have happened. Yeah, may have happened. So, I was watching that pretty much the majority of the day. And then I went over to visit with Kyle for a while. And just spent the day watching a lot of FlossTube and stitching and vlogging and doing all the things, you know? 2, 3, 4. This is some pattern. You really have to count this stuff here. 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a very easy pattern, but it's not easy if you're talking. Which, you know, may not have been the best idea to start a new project on a Stitch With Me video. When I was doing them in the past, I tried to have projects where I could just work on a chunk of one color, because it's a lot easier than trying to count and make sure you're counting correctly, and it makes things a little bit difficult. If you see, I'm creating an outline of the shape. This shape is kind of like a little swirly type of shape. And because it's variegated floss, one of the things that I like to do, since I was working on Dragons of Sumatra, I'm trying to avoid that stripey effect. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's different ways you can use variegated thread. Of course, you can go one stitch at a time to really highlight the different colors in each skein. You can also do it the traditional way, where you go across one leg at a time for that section and come back one leg at a time, and you get this beautiful tweeted type effect. And I didn't want the tweed. I wanted to really celebrate the floss and have those sections of solid color where you can really see the sheen, and really kind of separate the purple from the green in the floss. I didn't want them to, I'm trying to get in front of the camera. There we go. I think I didn't want them to be too blended together, because I like how beautiful they are separately. I really like that. So what I've been doing lately, when I work with variegated floss, I trace the outline of the shape, and then I fill it in going in the same direction. So I'll do this whole outline of the swirl, and then I'll fill it in going around the swirl until it's all filled in. And that creates an interesting look, and it's not stripy, but it's still clearly variegated, as opposed to that tweed look. Now, one piece that I've been thinking about since McKenna did her live video last week, or earlier this week, should I say, last week, whenever, was the Courtney Collection peacock that Emily C. gifted me for my birthday. 1, 2, 3. And I'm thinking about that piece in particular because when McKenna did her live video from the attic, there was a finished piece of it on the wall. She was going around to the different pieces on the wall that were model stitched to see if anybody wanted to purchase the pattern, which I thought was a brilliant idea, because a lot of times we'll look at the pattern and be like, eh, but then we see it stitched and we're like, holy moly, gotta have it now, take my money. But she showed a still shot from the attic to announce that she was going to be going live at like 5 p.m. And on that wall was a finished piece of the Peacock by Courtney collection. So when I saw it on the wall, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get back to my Peacock. But I do believe, and I'm thinking about it, I have to pull it back out. But I think I might approach that particular piece, which I'm doing with, I don't remember the name of the water lilies, but it's highly variegated and it's peacocky colors, but I'm getting that stripy look and I don't think I want that. I think I want to do the peacock feathers, which is what that floss is for. I think I want to do all the peacock feathers, but I think I want to approach that variegated floss using the tweeted look. I'm not sure. So that's all to say you might be seeing the peacock soon. But don't you always see a peacock with me? I mean, seriously. So that might be coming out to play soon. Maybe not this year, but soon. Speaking of this year, I said in my last video, and probably in this one that I'm in the process of vlogging, that I'm focusing on 2 projects for the remainder of the year, and that is subject to change because I do change my mind quite often. But as of this moment, I'm pretty certain that I want to focus on peacocks and posies and desiderata for the remainder of the year. So anything that I'm talking about, planning, purchasing, like the beads, the beaded projects, or the diamond painting, I'm really not planning on doing any of those until 2019. Unless, the spirit moves me to do it. Because I just want to focus on these other 2 projects. And of course, have days like today with high tea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm kind of already in the mode of thinking about next year and projects for next year and how I want to approach my year, because this is what we tend to do in the final quarter, right? We start to make plans and such. Excuse me, I'm drinking my coffee. So plans for next year definitely surround whips. I've kind of tossed around the idea of doing not a whip parade, but what did they call it? A stash parade? Maybe? I don't know. Going through my stash again for a multitude of reasons. I haven't done a stash video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 since like my second video ever, and that was 4 years ago. And let's just say, for humility's sake, that things have changed over the past 4 years. Things have changed. So I want to do a stash video, not necessarily to show off what I have. My husband's cooking something that smells fantastic. Don't you love that smell of like peppers and onions sauteing? Like you have no idea what it's being made, but it just smells so good. Anyway, that's not what I was talking about. So, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, stash. So I don't want to necessarily do a stash video to show off what I have, but I need to do a stash video because I'm intrigued by the idea of the wheel. The wheel, the decision wheel that everybody's doing. I like that idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like that idea, but more so, I need to take inventory of what I have. I need to take inventory of what I've purchased over the past 4 years since cross-stitching has taken over my life. I have a lot of stuff, but what's sinful about all of that is not the accumulation, You know, I think if you have, you know, the means to get what you want and what you enjoy doing, do it. I have no shame about that. But where I do have shame is having all of these things and forgetting about what I have. So there's a very, very fine line between hoarding and collecting. And I think I am over the line. You decide which side I'm on. Because I don't know everything that I have anymore because it's not organized the way that it should be. I haven't taken inventory of it. So the main purpose of doing a stash video would be to organize and take inventory of what I have so I can make plans for what I have. But of course, I would record that because if you're anything like me, and you are my people, so I assume that you are, you would want to see that. Hell, I want to see that. So that's what I want to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know when that's going to take place, but it probably will take place before the end of the year. So I can actually make plans for the end of the year and figure out what I'm going to do with my stitching life. But that's all to say that once I do that, I can make some plans about what I want to do for next year. Not even, you know, just on whips, but, you know, go ahead and plan ahead for high tea. Why not? Like I think Caroline did that. I think she actually planned out her high tea for the year when she first came up with the concept of it. Planned them ahead of time. I remember her saying, I suggested something to her for high tea or something like that, like, oh, this would make a great new start with me. And she was, you know, she said, I have all my high tea starts laid out for the year. Something along those lines. I don't want to misquote her, but she had it planned out. And I think I want to kind of do the same thing. And in the beginning of the year, I came up with a spreadsheet. I called it a stitching journal, so to speak. And I tried to make my plans, you know, to say, okay, this is what I'm going to start. This is, you know, what I have finished for the year, or these are my goals for finishes. And of course, I kept up with that through March, and now it's trash, right? It kind of fell by the wayside. So, I don't know. I'm just kind of letting those thoughts marinate in my mind right now about what I want to do for the new year. But nothing concrete, obviously, yet. And talk amongst yourselves while I go ahead and highlight what I just stitched. Or listen to the serene outdoor sounds of Baltimore County, Maryland coming through my window. You choose. One moment. So I was responding to some of the comments that were left on my latest video that I posted on Friday. And Ingeborg, I love her so much. Ingeborg, you know I adore you. I just do. And it was so funny. I said in my video when I was trying to read the Dutch language on Potverdikkie, in her subtle, not so subtle way, she told me I needed to work on that. And I loved that she called me out. And I just want to apologize for anybody in the Netherlands or anywhere, anybody that speaks the Dutch language, if I butchered it. I don't even know why I attempted to do that. I just thought that was so funny that she said I needed to, quote unquote, work on it a bit. And I'm sure she's right. But what was fascinating about what she did share, when I was trying to figure out if that was a D or an O on Potverdikkie, it is a D. But did you guys know that Potverdikkie actually means something? She explained that Potverdikkie is almost the equivalent of saying damn it in the English language. So she does not have any idea why it would be named Pat for Dicky, which has been, as she said, anglicized. But it is, Pat for Dicky is, I guess, one word in the Dutch language that is equivalent to our version of damn it. So I thought that was a fun fact. It just made that pattern all the more interesting. I just thought that was funny because it was such a sweet sentiment that was being relayed in that pattern, and you basically like called it a cuss word. Okay. But anyway, I thought that was fun, so I thought I would share that tidbit. The wind is blowing through the blinds, so you're getting all the background noise. You know, it's been a while since I did a Stitch With Me video, or any regular videos for that matter. So I forget about those little things that I should take care of before filming, like the wind blowing through the blinds and blowing them on the wall, because it creates background noise that nobody wants to hear. So I just snipped my next length of this floss in half, because another thing I don't want to do is work with any strands that are way too long, because let's see if I can get in there. Where are you? Can you see that? Guys, I'm challenged right now to get in front of the camera. I can't find it. There you go. Don't know if you can see that, how it frays at the end. Yeah. That is what I don't want. That's why I condition the floss, so I can take care of that fraying and keep all those little fibers in place. But it's also the reason why I don't want too long of a length traveling back and forth through the fabric, because that's going to cause it to fray as well. So I just run it through my thread heaven a couple of times. And just start stitching. And it smooths it out a lot, if you can see that. Just getting all those little, melting all the excess residue, whatever you want to call it. But it smooths it out, and as you could see, stitching with that other strand, it keeps it pretty smooth throughout. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I just know I have to take a little more care with it than I might have to do with DMC or any silk, anything like that. So I'm grateful for the experience. So if Michelle, you happen to be watching, I want to thank you again for sending this my way, or giving me an opportunity to participate in the contest. That allowed me to name the floss and have some sent to me. I thought that was fun. And it's always exciting to know that I can look at that, you know, this floss online at any time and know that I named it. It's pretty darn cool. So what else did I want to talk about? I think I want to do the Emily C tag. The last time I saw the Emily C tag, I won't say last time, but when Emily C came out with her tag, I was sitting on Ginger Gerald's couch with Gerald on my left and Caroline on my right, and all three of us were happily stitching and watching her tag, and we all thought it was a brilliant tag, and we all said we would do it. So Gerald did it. I think Caroline did it, I'm pretty sure. And now 4 months later, I'm doing it. Because it's cool to be different, right? I really like this Wexford linen. Oh my gosh. Why do they call it linen? I hope somebody can answer that. I don't think this is linen. I mean, I'm by no means any type of fiber artist. No, I don't know that it's linen, but it sure does feel and look like 32 count Lugana to me. So what makes it linen? Is it the fibers that make up the even weave? Is it because it's natural fibers where it's still classified as linen, but it's more of an even weave? Is that what it is? I don't know. Very interested. But I kind of love it. So anyway, just kind of went down a little rabbit trail there. I'm pausing because I think I may have made a boo-boo. So I absolutely made a boo-boo. I just don't know where. And it's fine. No, it's not. I really don't know what I did here. So I'm going to pause this. I'm going to figure it out, and then I'll come back. Okay, welcome back. So it's about 5 minutes later. I did have to frog, so I can tell you what it is like to frog this floss. It was very easy to do. Thank goodness I conditioned it. It was fine. But you do not want to frog the same thread too many times, because you can see right there, maybe you can't, it starts to get that little fuzzy thing going on, which can happen with any floss, but you want to be particularly careful with this type of floss. So I don't know where I left off when I got stuck, when I had to frog. So I have some exciting news, well, stitchy related exciting news. I found out that there is a local framer, literally right around the corner from me, that has been doing custom framing for over 40 years. So literally like 5 minutes away. I could walk there if I wanted to. I gave them a call yesterday and I asked them, do you have any experience with stretching needlework fabric or framing needlework fabric? And he was like, my goodness, we've been stretching needlework fabric and framing needlework for 46 years, ma'am. And I was like, wow, you don't say. It's set up by appointment only, because they like to sit down and look at the fabric and talk about how you want it placed, how you want it stretched, and really give you a consultation. So I'm thinking about taking my twisted band sampler there, because it is still folded up in the project bag, actually. I'm going to tell the truth, from when I went on the cruise where I finished it. So I'm thinking I will take that there and talk to them about it and get it framed. I love how Teresa framed hers for her mother in the simple white frame. But if you'll remember, my tones are a little bit different. It's a peach colored fabric. I think it was Golden Honey by Silk Weavers. So I'm usually partial to wooden frames, mahogany color frames. So that's probably what I'm going to do. But hey, who knows? Once I see what they have to offer me, I may change my mind. But I'm definitely going to give them a try. Support the local business and see how that goes. But now I think I'm going to get into the Emily C tag. I haven't looked at it or listened to it really since that day at Gerald's house. So the questions are going to be quite fresh. I looked them up this morning just to see if she had the questions listed on her video, and thankfully she did, so that makes things nice and easy. But I'll be kind of coming up with my answers on the fly. because the only question that I kind of know in advance is the first question. So we can jump right in. What is your favorite cereal? When I was younger, we weren't allowed to eat sugary cereals. And we could only eat cold cereal in the summertime. And we had to eat hot cereal in the wintertime. So that explains why I need to give two different answers, hot cereal and cold cereal. Cold cereal, believe it or not, is Raisin Bran. Love Raisin Bran. Hot cereal is probably grits or oatmeal. Love them both, but probably grits. Second questions. What are your favorite pizza toppings? I like white pizza. So if you don't know, white pizza is just like a regular pizza, except instead of marinara sauce, it has a white sauce. And I like that with spinach and mushrooms. Maybe maybe grilled chicken. Maybe Italian sausage, only if it is truly Italian sausage, not that ground pork that they sometimes put on pizza. Very particular when it comes to pizza. I love New York pizza, and I very rarely have found any pizza since living in Maryland that I like that is anywhere near New York pizza, because I know what it's supposed to taste like. I've heard pizza in Italy is to die for. I've never had it, but I know that pizza in New York is fantastic. So if and when we do get pizza, I don't really eat pizza anymore, but if and when we do get pizza, it's only from a select location. One of two, to be honest with you. I don't like any of the delivery franchises like Papa John's or Domino's. I just don't like them. In my opinion, any pizza that's made on a conveyor belt going through the oven is not going to be made correctly. It has to be in a brick oven. I'm just a bit of a pizza snob. And that's a whole lot of explanation for that. So number 3, you're on death row. What's your last meal? Hands down, spaghetti. I've always loved spaghetti. Oh, let me take that back. Maybe a steak. Gosh, I don't know. Oh, gotta think about that one. I spoke too soon because spaghetti is my all-time favorite meal. I've loved it since I was a child. I still love it. But maybe a well-made steak. But I'm probably gonna go with spaghetti. With my homemade sauce. And lots of Parmesan cheese. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Number 4, it's laundry day. What are your really weird bottom of the drawer underwear? I I have a pair of Christmas underwear. They're boy shorts that say ho 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 all over them. And then I have a pair of Cookie Monster underwear that has the Cookie Monster on the front. And on the back of the underwear, it has a gigantic cookie with a bite out of it. Yeah, I think those are pretty much the bottom of the barrel laundry day underwear. Who would play you in a movie about your life? I'm gonna say Jill Scott. I've been told for many years that Jill Scott and I resemble one another, and I've actually been mistaken for her twice, once on a cruise ship and once it was on a cruise ship in an elevator. That was a very awkward moment for both me and the person that mistook me for her. And at the Atlanta airport, somebody came running up to me. I don't think I look like Jill Scott, but we share a similar shape. We could definitely be cousins. We have a lot of similarities. We could definitely be related, but I don't think we look alike, but people have mistaken me for her. So that's a good reason why I think she would play me, but I also think she's a very good actress. I enjoy everything that she's been in. Obviously, I love her music, first and foremost. But anything that she's been in, she's committed to it, and she's been good. So yeah, Jill Scott. Number 6. Let me take a drink of coffee. Wait a minute. Number 6. What food items do you sneak into the movie theater in your purse or man bag? Sunflower seeds in the shell. Ranch flavor or cracked pepper. Number 7. What is your perfect vacation? White sand, blue water, Caribbean, no agenda, my husband next to me, and cross-stitching in a book. Audiobook in my ear. Perfection. Number 8. You're stuck on a deserted island and can have 5 things. What do you have? Now I remember why I love this tag so much. These are great questions. You're stuck on a deserted island and can have 5 things. What do you have? Stitching. My coffee. And by stitching, you know I mean my entire stash, right? Whatever. That's my answer. Stitching, coffee, my cat, my dog, my husband. Oh, that's 5 things. Wait a minute. Let's think this through. Stitching, coffee. Why are they the first 2 things before my husband? I'm just saying. Stitching, coffee, my husband. Well, wait a minute. I'm stuck on a deserted island and can have 5 things. I'm stuck. So if the island is deserted, I'm assuming that is meaning that nobody will be there but me, including my husband. So I can take that off the list. Stitching. This is horrible. This is horrible. Stitching, coffee, television, unlimited books, audiobooks. So what? Overdrive or Audible? I don't know. Stitching, coffee. Look, I just want you guys to know that as long as I have stitching and coffee, obviously I will survive, because they are the 2 things that keep coming up. Stitching, coffee, Netflix, TV, and books. Final answer. If you could have a reproduction style chart with any theme possible, what would the theme be? Ancient Egypt? Ancient Egypt. Which typically you would not see in a reproduction style sampler, but if you're asking me, I would love to see that. I don't see enough of that. I'm waiting for the Mirabilia, in like a Cleopatra themed like mirror, because I think it'll be amazing. I would have loved to seen, well, she did have an Egyptian, I'm talking about Chatelaine Martina did have there's an Egyptian Mandela. But I would really love to see something that celebrates like the pyramid, sarcophagus, mummies, all of that. Pharaohs. I would like to see that. Number 10. What's your strangest travel experience? Bonus points if you've ever spent time in a foreign jail. I've never spent time in a foreign jail, but I was threatened to be detained in Jamaica. I had gotten into a terrible argument with one of the girlfriends that I was there with. I mean, we were going at it. We were so pissed off at each other. It was something so stupid, I don't even remember what it was. But we were really pissed. And we were going back and forth with one another still while I was going through the gate and showing my passport. And the young lady told me that I needed to stop talking, and I was disrespecting her line. And I responded in kind and said something along the lines of, I'm not disrespecting your line, you were actually minding my business. I was in a state, I was in a mood, I was feisty. And she kindly told me that if I did not lower my voice, I would be detained. And I immediately shut all the way up. It was, I don't remember what we were arguing about, but I'm telling you, we pissed each other off something terrible. And it started on the shuttle bus going from the hotel to the airport. It started on the shuttle bus and then it continued and it escalated. And next thing you know, we're in the airport yelling at each other like we have no sense. Yeah, that was a very long time ago. But no, I never spent time in a foreign jail. The strangest travel experience. Um, I don't know if it was a strange travel experience, but we were in Jamaica, my husband and we went to they have like this outdoor mall. If you want to call it a mall, it wasn't like we defined a mall, but it was an outdoor merchants area where the tourists typically go to buy souvenirs and stuff like that. And we went into this coffee shop and we had like this amazing cup of coffee and that was fine. But then we went outside and I think my husband's vacuuming. Yeah, that's what that is. We went outside and we went downstairs to continue shopping after the coffee. And I was looking at some jewelry and my husband was looking at something else. So he was kind of around the corner. And I left the jewelry to go find him. And I found this woman that was calling him into this alley to come and look at some of the things that she had. And he was starting to go. Like she was saying to him that she had additional merchandise down this alley. And he was starting to go. And I stopped him and he was like, no, she has other stuff. And I said, do not go down that alley. Because you hear horror stories about what happens to tourists, when you kind of venture away from the touristy part of the island. And I'm very aware of that. Well, my husband is more of the type that he wants to go and travel and, do what the locals do. And you can't do that everywhere, You hear the stories. You can't do that everywhere. So I instantly went into like mama bear mode and he wasn't going down any alley anywhere in Jamaica. It wasn't happening. So that was strange because she had a store and a storefront. So why would she want him to go down an alley by himself? I thought that was very odd. And then there was the time that we were followed in Puerto Rico. We went to Puerto Rico and we were walking around San Juan and there was this very odd little man that was walking behind my husband. And my husband didn't notice him at first, but I did. And I kept watching him and he kept getting closer and closer and closer. And I had a very, very uneasy feeling. So I was telling my husband, without alarming him, cross the street. Let's just cross the street. So we crossed the street and sure enough, this little guy crossed the street. And if you can think of, and I keep saying little guy because he was a little guy, but think of Napoleon Dynamite with the big curly hair and the big glasses. This was this guy. And this was like within the past 10 years. He just seemed a little off, a little frazzled. And he followed us across the street. And I'm telling my husband at this point, I was like, this guy seems to be following us. Let's go in this store or in this restaurant. We just ducked into a restaurant. And we did that. And he kept walking. But the weird thing was when we came out, we kind of peeked around the corner to see if he was out there. And he was in the next store. And he was peeking around the corner to see where we were. It was really weird. And something was amiss. So, to this day, I think something was about to happen. And we avoided it, thank goodness. So yeah, that was pretty strange. All right, what's the next question? What are you saving money for right now? College for Troy. What craft would you like to try or get better at? Well, I guess the craft that I would like to try is the diamond painting because I just bought a a kit that included 4 projects, but a craft that I would like to get better at would be knitting. Like I can knit an afghan, I can knit a scarf, but I'm not very adept when it comes to sweaters or socks or gloves. I do easy knitting, so I would like to be better at that. What's your worst roommate or housemate story? Oh, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, I skipped so many questions. Wait a minute. If you had to stitch only 3 designers for the rest of your life, who would you choose? Chatelaine, Rosewood Manor, Mirabilia. Dumbest way you've ever been injured. I fell out of a tree as a full-grown adult. I climbed a tree in a park and I fell out. And that's the end of that story. And I think I knocked myself out for a couple of seconds. What is your worst roommate or housemate story? I used to have a roommate. Her name was Burpee. Her name was actually Karen, but we nicknamed her Burpee because she was always belching. So Burpee had this boyfriend. And he would come over and his presence was just there. And he was so immature and he would pass gas and like put a lighter behind him so you know what happens if you like fart on a flame? He liked to do that and he thought it was entertaining and funny, and no. But he also liked to just, it was just bad. It was really bad. And it got to the point where like I had to have a conversation with her because she basically moved him in without talking to me or without my permission, and she felt she could have him over there anytime she liked, which was true, but he was like living there. And when you're splitting rent between 2 women in their 20s, no, you are not allowed to sit around and sleep in our house and eat our food and not pay anything. He like basically moved in. It was just like, well, as long as he's living with quote unquote her, it was okay. It wasn't okay. It was a hot mess. Farting and burping aside. All right. Next question. You have unlimited income. What does your dream house look like? Big country house, wraparound porch, at least 4 bedrooms. So there's a separate room for Troy, separate room for a guest, and my own craft room. Big country kitchen. I don't need a mansion. I just want comfort. And my own stitching room that nobody's allowed into. What song would you want played, sang at your funeral or memorial? Oh, boy. I have to come back to that. Oh my gosh. Oh no. As by Stevie Wonder. Nothing Too Sad. One of my favorite songs, all-time favorite songs, is Better Days by Diane Reeves. If It's Magic by Stevie Wonder. Oh my gosh, that's it. If It's Magic by Stevie Wonder, I think. Nothing Too Sad, but beautiful. Number 18, what is your favorite board or card game? Growing up, we always played Monopoly and Scrabble. But I would always quit. I wasn't a good board game player because I would get frustrated and quit. Especially if I was losing. I was a sore loser as a little girl. Card game, I remember playing Pity Pat and Tonk with my grandfather all the time. So those always have a soft place in my heart, even though I don't remember how to play either of them. I was never good at spades. I would always cut my own partner, and they wouldn't want to play with me anymore. So dare I say solitaire? I'm really good at solitaire. Go figure. Um, yeah, I don't really play cards or board games anymore. I'm not a gamer. So this might be a great question for Emma or Jessie Marie to answer, but I'm not much of a gamer. Yeah, we don't really play any board games. So yeah. All right. Who was your first celebrity crush? Michael Jackson? Um, Michael Jackson, followed by El DeBarge, followed by Prince. Somewhere in there was Ralph Macchio, but my longest celebrity crush, starting from the 80s until present date, would be LL Cool J. Second, maybe no, there's no second. Ice Cube is okay, but I've loved LL Cool J since I was a little girl, and we're still dating. But my first celebrity crush was Michael. If you could capture a smell in a candle or perfume, what would that smell be? Fresh linen, fresh, clean linen. Anything fresh, but I always love those scents that are very clean and soft and summery and breezy. I love those clean scents. So fresh linen. And that was the end of the tag. That was a great tag, Emily. So I think that is all that we have. And I'm coming around to close up the shape that I was working on while we were chatting. So I think that is perfect timing for me to go ahead and end. So I will probably fill this in just to give you guys a little more of an idea of what I was referring to when I said I do the outline, and then I just fill it in the same direction. So right now this doesn't look like much of anything except a swirl, but the actual design is right here, inside here, and then it continues into the swirl. So I will fill all this in the same direction, just kind of going along the line here, so you still get the variegated effect, but you won't get the stripey. So I will post a picture of this on Friday Off the Grid to show off my high tea progress, and I may, oh, look at the sun coming out. Oh, at the end of the video, how about that? I may work on this for the rest of the day, actually. It's high tea Sunday, isn't it? I may just go ahead and just work on this for the rest of the day and then pick up peacocks and posies again tomorrow. So thank you guys for stitching with me. I hope you got a lot done. I'm pretty sure once I glue these two segments together, it's probably about an hour, give or take. I hope you got a lot of stitching done with me, and I'll see you next time. Happy stitching. Be kind.